Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you how to use my Yar890 Studio Racing Kit. So to first off, you'll find a link to this racing kit in the video description, and to first what you need to do is click this get button and you just click in get now. It might show a transaction amount here, don't worry, it's a completely free kit at the moment. So if you click get now, you will have the kit, and it'll say item owned. So for the sake of this tutorial, I have a pre-made racing track already. So if you go in the video description, you'll find a link to this, and this is open source, so you're more than welcome to take this or use your own track. So if I click here on this triple dot system here, and then click edit, it will load up Studio, and it should open up this game. There we go. So I'm going to quickly show you what the building place of this is, and this was actually made in 2015. So if any of you know a group called Go-Kart in Extreme, this was the very first version that was made by me. So you spawn in here. You've got this fancy screen that I made years ago in 2015. Then you've got a briefing room here, and you notice that there's no door here, and we're going to use my kit to add a barrier here so that you can control when people enter the briefing room. If you go into here, you've got your main briefing room here, and to do a briefing you can just do it in text, just in chat, or you could create your own briefing system if you don't have if you know how to script. Next up, we'll need another door here to stop people from entering the track straight away. So you want people to wait in here, listen to your briefing before going into here. So we'll also add in a door here. And then if you go into here, we've got the main track area. So this is the pit area. You'll need pit gates. And we'll also need to spawn the carts here. And then you've got your main track. We're missing racing lights, so we don't have any green, yellow or red light to tell players when to stop their cart, slow down or go in full speed. And we also have no starting area, so we don't have any invisible barrier or any starting lights. So that's another thing that we will be adding in. So to get started, if you go to the left here, you have toolbox, and if you don't see this, you want to go into view, and you'll see toolbox right here. Now if I go into toolbox and then click on this symbol here, it will load my inventory, and when we ran that when we got this kit, it will show up in here. So for now I am going to place this kit inside this room here, which is currently the control room. So if I click this button here, it will load it here. Oop, it's loaded it above. That's fine. So if I click on move, if you look on the right here, it adds a racing kit, and all of this is in one folder. So if you want to move all of these things at once, just click on this folder here. Now if I go into model, set this to something like 1, the move bit here. So if I go click on this racing kit again, and then if I move it downwards, and I'm going to move it to be inside the control area. There we go. Now I'll move it back a bit so you can see it better. So there we go. So now we have this kit here. Now to understand what all of these things are, some of it is self-explanatory, some of it may not be. So the first thing is you want to open up this racing kit folder on the right here, and then you want to go into components, and then if you click on all of these, it sort of gives you an idea of what each kit does. So this is clearly the barrier. This is the kart collision button. So this is used for if you want each kart to be able to collide with each other or not collide with each other. So you can race through everyone else's kart or not. Then you've got your kart spawn system here. Then you have racing lights. This can also control the kart speed, depending on the light color. And then you've got your starting lights here. There are also a few other features, and I'll show you how you can find out about these features. So if you go into the README script, which is here, you'll get this thing here, and this will show you when this kit was last updated and the current version you're on. Now if you copy this link here, called for setup instructions, it should take you to this area here. So this sort of gives you an idea of all the instructions for each individual part of the kit, and as you can see here, there is quite a lot of things in here. So you've obviously got your kart, there are a few things you can change. If you click on these, it gives you more detail about it. You've got anti-exploit. You can also add in a custom kart of your own, so you don't have to always use my kart. You can also use your own. Or if you have an A chassis kart, which is a popular kart system or sort of vehicle system, you can also use that. You've got racing lights, starting lights, kart spawn, collision, Initialise. This is more for technical stuff. There's not really much instruction than that. You've got pit gates, barriers. You've also got group restriction. So if you want to restrict these buttons to be clicked by a specific rank, such as a rank in a group called, let's say, the role name of control staff, you can restrict it so that only they can click these buttons. So if they have a role of that, if they got that role or above, they can click these buttons. This gives you info. There's also this how-to section. So at some point you might get things like in this folder you can set up group ID and rank ID, set rank ID to 0, disable group check. This might be confusing if you're not familiar with how to change a value object. So if you go into here, I'd suggest reading this first before you start looking into these instructions, and it will just give you an idea of how to configure certain things. So this is telling you to let's say I want to change this specific value here. I have to click on this pointing object, and then if I go into properties, I can change the value there. There's some screenshots there. So this is useful for instructions. The other link is just a update log. It just gives you more detail about like every single version and what was changed in it. So that's the main part of this. So if I go back into the game, and we're going to get started. So I'm going to constantly refer to these instructions. So the first thing is that we're going to start off with the kart. If you look into here, you've got your kart here, and there are a few things you can change, which you can see here. So it's saying here I need to go into kart, Yar890 kart configuration. So if I go into kart, Yar890 kart, there's also a drive script which I don't think that's been updated, so that might need to be added. So you go to drive script, and here you can see configuration. And here you've got a bunch of properties that you can change with the kart. So let's say I want braking force to be higher on this kart. I can increase this value. So let's say I want to increase it to 3000. That will make it brake a lot more faster. You've got max turn angle, so while turning I want it to turn a little bit more. I can change this to 20 and it will start to turn more. I'm going to switch it back to 15 because I want to keep it that way. And I'm also going to switch this back to 2500. Then you've got reverse max speed. So while the kart's reversing, you want to limit, sometimes you want to limit how fast it's reversing. You don't want it reversing at 100 speed. So you can restrict the speed here. You've got reverse torque. So this is the amount of acceleration backwards force, I guess you could explain this as. This is a lot lower than what torque is. Oh, actually it's the same here. But here you can reduce it if you want to. Torque is the forward speed, so this forward acceleration rate. So how much force is applied forward. And then you've got sound deamplifier. So if I set this to 0, the sound would be extremely loud. But you can make it sound less louder by increasing this number. So if I want to reduce the sound a bit more, I can increase this to 70. For now I'm going to keep this at 50. So that's how you can configure this kart. Next in this list we've got anti-exploit. So this, I will get back to this later on. I'll first explain our light system before doing that. Then you've got the custom kart plus a chassis system. So let's say I have my own kart and I don't want to use this. So you can use your own kart and there are instructions in here. So in this example I'm going to quickly bring in a chassis system. So if I go into models and then type in a chassis, might as well wrong. This one supports that's the one. So this is an A chassis system, and this is typically used in a lot of vehicles. Even some popular games use this. So let's say I want to use this kart instead of this kart that comes with the kit. What I can do here, it tells you the instructions. It says here that if I have an A chassis, I only have to set the configuration value of the kart and set model primary part. So it explains it more here. So to change the kart value, go to these settings here. So it's saying to go into the configuration folder, kart, and you've got kart model. If I click on this, so this is called an object value. So I click on this, you'll notice this weird pattern here that's following my mouse. Now if I go in the studio and then click on the model of my new kart that I want to use, I just click on this and now it's going to spawn in this kart. There is also one other step here which it says set the model primary part. Click on model and set primary part in vehicle. So if you go and click on this, you'll notice that primary part is empty. If I open this up, what I can do is click on primary part and you want to set it to the main drive seat. So this is the seat that the player sits in. So I click on this, it will work here. So now this kit is going to spawn in, this kit specifically, and I can show you that briefly right now. So if I just click and play here, you'll notice the kart automatically disappears. So when the game runs, the kart that you've set in the configuration is going to automatically disappear, but it's not permanently gone. You just have to click this button and it will show the carts here. Something has gone wrong with this kit, obviously. It might be just a broken model. I might have just not anchored it. But most of the time this should work. But as you can see, it spawned it in. However, I don't want to use this kit right now. I want to use my own, so I'm going to change the cart model back to mine. I also forgot to mention how to get these two windows up. So to get these two windows up here, you just click on Properties here and then Explorer, and then these two will show up. You will need these two to configure this kit. The next step is the bit that we want to next configure. Is let's do racing lights. So the racing lights, they have quite a few features. So if I click play here, if I click on this, you can see that the light color changes. If I click on red, it changes, and there's also a natural light that comes out. You can see a light shade of red there. So if I respawn the carts again, and there's some fancy features with this light system. So if I go and sit in this cart now, if I drive, you'll notice that my speed is quite high. However, let's say I wanted to change it to yellow, and pay attention to this, you may notice a small change. So now you'll notice that it appears that I'm going a lot faster, but what's actually happening is that I've set the max speed to be lower, so I think in this case it's at 50. So yellow is just showing tell races to slow down. And let's say I wanted to stop races completely, I can just click on the red button, and it sets the max speed to 0. Oh, I seem to have clicked something. That normally won't happen in your game. There we go. Right. So next up is to explain how to change those specific light speeds. So if I go into configuration, racing lights, light speed, you can see these three properties here. So green is 100, red speed is at 0, and yellow is at 50. So I can change, let's say, change this to 10. And what this will do is that on red light, instead of 0 speed, races can still race, but it will be at a much lower speed, but not a complete stop. So as you can see here, red is now at a much slower speed. There we go. So that's that part. And let me show you how to actually set up the light system. So in here it says you can copy and paste the control panel on racing lights anywhere within your game. So what that means is that I can copy this racing light, go somewhere in the game, and then I can type in Control V to paste it back in. I don't know where that went. If I click on this move symbol here, there we go, it's telling me it's on the roof. So we move it down to the left. You can see here that we've got a racing light. So these racing lights are typically used to show a safety, they're sort of like safety lights. So yellow means slow down, red means to stop carts. So you don't want this at the start line, but you want it in places where it's always visible to the player whenever they're racing. So if I click on this, you may also notice that there's these rods. Let's say we wanted to go into this rod folder, and you can see rods here. We're just going to increase it so that it actually connects to the roof. There we go. And now that's our light system set up. Now I'm just going to move it a bit here. And then what I can do again is that I can type in Control D. And what this does is that it duplicates the light in the exact same position. And now I can move it again. And our races have just gone through here, and now they're here. And now I want to show them the light status again. So I can rotate it. If you wish to change what your rotate angle is, you can go into model and you can see a rotate thing. Make sure this is check marked. And you can set it to be like an exact angle. If you get rid of rotate, let's say in free angle, I would not advise doing this unless your track's a bit different. As mine is like sharp angles, I'd recommend just using the check mark and setting it to something like 45 or 90. Otherwise you might get light styles like slightly not on the same angle as the track, and it might look a bit weird. So I'm going to move that there, and then I'm going to do another one. Move that all the way here. Rotate that. Do another one all the way back here. And over there, move it all the way back here. And I'll just do another one here. So this is just a rough idea of how to do it. Ideally what you want to do with light placement is that when it goes through a turn, you want a light to be visible. So ideally you want another light here. You've got one light here. You've got one light all the way there. Over here you might want to add a few more of these safety lights so that they can always see what the current light status is. Here you've got one. I put two here because with longer distance of straights you ideally want a bit more lights just in case they can't see the further one. Especially with people who play on low quality, they may not be able to see this further light, so it's better to keep it somewhat close. Ideally you want another one here, possibly another one here, but that's up to you because there is another light just around the corner. And then you've got another straight. You might want to consider adding another light just to be a little bit more closer as well, because that's quite far away and people on low quality may not be able to see that light. So that's the starting light system. I can delete this now because I've put it all in the track. Next up on this list, this is a good time to go back and talk about the anti-exploit system. So it's a bit hard to explain in text, but I'll explain it in words here. So I am going to change the racing light speed and reduce it. So now this is going to be around I'm going to set yellow light to just be 10. I'm going to set green light to also just be 10. And now if I go into the cart, the configuration cart, and anti-cheat, you'll notice it's anti-cheat enabled. So if I enable this, this means the game will check if the cart speed matches what it's supposed to be at. So there's something called hard limit offset. So what this is that if the cart is ever traveling past the speed limit of the green light, in this case 10, plus the value of this, then it will kick the user. So in this case, if the player, in theory, the player should not be able to go past 10 speed. However, if I set the speed limit, hard speed limit offset to 25, what that means is that if the player is given a speed of 10 plus 25, so that's 35 speed the car is racing at. If it ever goes past that limit, it will automatically kick them out of the game. Then you've got light offset, which I've set to 5. So in this case, let's say the current status of the light is yellow, and the speed of yellow is 10. So what this light offset is saying is that if the car is traveling at a speed of 10 plus 5, so that's 15, then it will start a countdown timer. No one will be able to see this countdown timer. It's within the scripts, and you can see this in here, something called light over speed time, and I've set this to 5. So what happens is that if the racer is traveling while on yellow light at a speed of over 15, then after 5 seconds, so this will be in seconds, this value, so after 5 seconds of them constantly traveling over the speed of 15, then what will happen is that the player will automatically, it will get kicked after 5 seconds of traveling over that speed. So that's the anti-cheat system, and I'll show you one here. So I'm just going to set an extreme scenario where yellow light is at 0. And if I click play here, the game is loading. Click play. Now if I go into yellow, let me click yellow one more time. There we go. Now I'm a hacker, and let's say I want to hack into this. I am going to click on this cart, and I'm going to go into the properties, and I'm going to set the vehicle max speed to something else. So right now the max speed is 0. I'm going to set it to actually 10. So the light is currently yellow, and I'm not supposed to be able to move at all, but now I can. If I click back in the game, now count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there we go. So as you saw there, for about 5-ish seconds, I went over the speed limit. So the offset is currently 5. So I went over the speed of 5. So 0 plus 5 is 5. I went over it for over 5 seconds, and now I got kicked. And you see here, speeding cart over light limit. So that's the anti-cheat system. By default, this is disabled because I'm not sure if all users want it, but if you do, you can enable it here. So I'm going to set yellow light back to 50 and green light back to 100, and yellow light and red light to 0. There we go. That's the anti-cheat system explained. Next up, we've got starting lights. So the starting lights is this bit here. Let's see what it says here. This is very similar to how racing light is described, just that there's no configuration for this. So here it says you can copy and paste the starting light anywhere in the game. The barrier will go transparent when the game starts. So if I move this over here, move this down, left, yeah. So when the game starts, this barrier here you see will automatically go invisible. The reason why it's showing up now is just so that you as a developer can see where your lighting, where your start lights is. If I move this to the center, that's roughly the center, might not be exact. And if I go into barrier. It is to the left, to the right. It doesn't matter if it overlaps because this becomes invisible. You just don't want it to overlap like this, otherwise the barrier, if someone's driving along here, they're going to hit the barrier, and this barrier is invisible, so the player might get confused. You're more than welcome to copy these rods and then move it here as well, so that the lighting looks like it's attached to the roof, or you can create a separate stand if you want to. So now I've got a barrier here, and if I just move out here, now that's the barrier pretty much set up. You can also, I forgot to mention this, you can also move these around, and you can also duplicate these. So if I click this yellow light or this yellow light, it will still work on all these lights. I can have multiple of these. So if for whatever reason you have two control panels controlling the same track, you can do that here, and it should all still work fine. I'm going to click play. So here, if I click these buttons, you can see like both control panels work in sync. This control panel screwed an update, but that's something I might need to work on. But as you can see, these do work. Like if I click on yellow, it does show up. It appears I've not anchored the lights. That's something I should probably do. So yeah, you can see here, green means that the track is open and everyone can race through. If I click this, it will reset it to red. If I click this, I'm going to quickly show you what this looks like. There you can see like there's a small countdown, and it goes green. And then there's the invisible barrier you saw here. Now racers can go past through it. When all of these are red, then the racers can't go past through the main entrance barrier here. I'm just going to get rid of these here. So if I'm going to stop the game, here. Right. If you ever have falling parts in your game, the likely issue is that if you click on this, you'll see on the home something called anchor. If you enable this, what that does is that it ensures that all the parts here are always like fixed in this exact position, so it won't fall over. So I'm just going to quickly do this for all of these. There we go. Now I'm going to click anchor, and now that won't randomly fall over. Next up in the list is kart spawn. So I want to spawn these karts in a specific area. So there are a few things you can do here. So if you go and click on one of these, you'll notice that there's a kart spawn folder. So you get your control panel, and you've got this specific kart spawn folder. And if you go into here, you've got these individual kart spawns. So you want to keep this exactly how it is in here. You can move this folder anywhere, but you can't move these out of the folder. So if I do this, this spawn won't work. It needs to be inside the spawn locations folder. So to keep stuff inside this folder, you can click on this and press Control D. If you move it, it will keep it inside the folder, and you can set where you want your karts to spawn. So in my case, I want it all here, and to the left, down a bit. So there we go. So now the kart will spawn in this area. Let me move that back. Right there. the map. There you go. You can move all of these a bit closer. Tip would be to press Ctrl D while having all three of these selected. You can move it back. If you wish to know how to select multiple of these at once, what you do is that you hold Ctrl, you click one of these, and you click the next one while still holding Ctrl, and you click the next one. I click on move, and then I can press Ctrl D, and you should be able to move them again. Oh, I seem to have done something else. Alright, I'll clone these and then move it back. Do it again. Do it again. I'm not going to waste time doing the entire track here because the pit area is quite big. But you can just keep on doing this until your pit's filled up. If for whatever reason you wish to use a different spawn locations folder, what you can do is that, let's say I just create a new folder in here and called it location 2, and I moved one of these into here. So now, let's say I want to not use this spawn location folder and I want to use this one instead, spawn locations 2. What I can do is that I can go into configuration again. That's in the top of here. So configuration. Then I can go into cart spawn and then spawn folder. And if I click on this value, click on spawn location 2. Now if I run this game, and I click respawn, it will only respawn it in this one spawn area. And if you look there, there's nothing visible there. Next up. There we go. Alright, now the next thing that I am going to do is change it back. So if I go to spawn folder, I want to spawn it back to how it was before. And move this spawn back into here. And remove this folder again. Now if I run it, because I've set it back to how it was before, it should run normally again. If I click, yeah. Also, you may notice when you set the respawn folder, that all the things that are inside that respawn folder, so this spawn locations folder, they will become invisible. So you don't have to worry about making them all invisible. They're visible for you specifically, but in game it should be invisible for everyone else. So if I click it, it spawns in there, and if you look there, you can see multiple carts there. So this is working fine. Next up, we have the collision system. This is very simple. You can just simply move this button just anywhere, just leave it in here. Should probably move these down. We only need one starting light button. If I click play here, so load up. Now if I spawn in the carts, and I click enable collision, so now I'm saying as it's red, so collision should be off. So if I go through this cart, as you can see here, I walk through. So if I jump back out, the player is still able to collide with the carts as well. If I put this back on and then go in here, collision should be enabled, and you can see that there. Next up, we have Initialise. This one, don't worry about it. If you're an advanced user, this gives you a brief explanation of what it does. Just basic setup things, but ideally you don't want to move the script. So the Initialise script is this one here. You don't want to touch it. If you're a really technical user and want to see how I scripted it, you can look into here. So if you open it up and go into server, if you go into each of these, you can see all of my code here. You can see some modules here in the main controller, inbound and outbound. However, if you're technical, ideally, if you know how to script, you want to work with this API folder. So ideally, you don't want to even go into here. You want to go into here. You can look through the example, gives you a brief idea, if you're technical, how to use the API. So this is just a brief example of it. And this just gives you an idea of what you can do with it. That's more for technical users, so that also covers this bit here. Next up, you've got pit gates. So if I go into here, we have the toggle barrier. So if I move this here, over here, and move this down, there we go. And now we've got toggle barrier. And now we know that we have an interesting issue here. So we have multiple different types of barriers. So we want one here at least, another one here at least, so that's the pit entrance, pit exit. We want another one here, and we want another one here. So we've got 4 doors or gates or pits that we need. So to do that, you may notice that if I duplicate this right now, put that there, you'll notice a small issue. So I play here. And click here. You notice that it does it for both doors. However, we only want it for each button to do it only for one door. So the way you can change these is that if you go into barrier here, also the control panel, you'll notice that there's a configurations folder, and it's explained here somewhere. Yeah, configurations folders are here. If you look into here, so for the control panel, you can see sign name. So here's the sign name. So toggle barrier does not really tell us what it does. Instead, we want, say, pit entrance. And when the game runs, this will automatically change. If you want it to change in Studio as well, you can manually set it by going to sign. If you go into sign and then sign UI, you'll see text box. And this follows. So if you scroll down, you'll see text. So it says toggle barrier. You can change this to, let's say, pit entrance, so that even in Studio you see what it does. So now I'm going to set it to pit entrance. So with a space, yeah. And you'll notice this thing called class ID. So right now it's set to barrier. However, if I let's say change this to pit entrance and click on this barrier here, if I go into barrier and then configuration, you also see class ID here. Right now this is set to barrier, but now if I change this to pit entrance as well, if I check if both of these match, what it will do is that when I click this button, it will tell all barriers with a class ID of pit entrance to open. But because this barrier here has a class ID called barrier, this will not open because it does not match the class ID of this button, specific button here. Also, if you look into barrier, you may notice these two other options. So you've got a barrier on transparency. So 0 means you can completely see the barrier right now. And now, let's say when I open up the barrier, so people can go through it, I can change the transparency here as well. So if I want it completely invisible, I can set this to 1. If I want it halfway invisible, I can set it to 0.5. But for me, I put it at 0.9. Next up, we need 4 buttons in total. So I'm going to move these a bit over. So we want 4 buttons in total. So this one, we want to set this one to the sign name of pit exit with a class ID of pit exit. And this one, we're going to set it to briefing entrance. I'm just going to copy that and put it into here. And then finally, this one, we're going to call it briefing exit, the class ID that matches as well. And now I will set the barriers for this. So we've got pit exit, and I'm going to set this barrier to also be pit exit. And this is getting a bit longer now, so I'm just going to do 3 of them. I'm going to set this one to briefing entrance. So now if I run this in game, there we go. So if you look here, you can see you've got pit entrance, pit exit, briefing entrance, and then briefing exit. So I click on pit entrance, that opens up, it closes. So green means it's currently on, so people can't go through it. Red means it's off, so people can go through it. So that's pit exit. Then you've got briefing entrance, and as I've not set any briefing exits, nothing changes yet. You can also just add that in yourself. It's just for the case of this tutorial, just to keep it more useful. I don't want to put too many things in right now. So this, if I remember correctly, ooh, did I duplicate this? Yes, I did. We don't want to duplicate this, we want to actually move the barrier. So this is the pit entrance. You're more than welcome to rename this barrier to whatever you want, so you can change it to like pit entrance. So I'm going to put this barrier here. The one goes here. I'll put that in. You want to be careful that you don't want to affect current races on the track. So if I do that, that will be the pit entrance area. So I'm going to move. I'm going to set it to 0.5 to move so that I can set it at a better position. That's a bit better. I want to also make sure the right's roughly the same. I think that will be fine. Next up, I'm going to just change the barrier color. So if we go on part, change that to red, and then change the material to wood. But it's a bit too bright. There we go. So that's like one pit entrance. Now I'm going to duplicate this, so let's Control D. And if I move this around, put that there. So when I press the pit entrance open, both this barrier and this barrier will become transparent and allow players through. I want to test that quickly now. If I click this, if you look fine at distance, you can sort of see that it's open. If I click it again, it's now closed, and I'm going to show it in a bit more closer for you lot to see. So if I move here, you can see it's open, and because I've set the barrier off transparency to 0.9, you can somewhat see it here. So that's working. And let's say we wanted to add in, smooth this also over a bit. So this is briefing room entrance. Oh, this is a pit exit. So we can move it here. There we go. Then you've got briefing room entrance here. So you're more welcome to just colour this however you want. I move that over, match that up. Put that there. Let's see if I can make it a bit more neater. That's a bit better. And that's another barrier. And because I'm already here, I'm just going to quickly add in the briefing exit, because I've already partly set it up. So I might as well do it completely. You want to make sure that if you've got any gaps, you want to fill it in. Otherwise, players will do anything to glitch through. Yeah, so I'm going to quickly set the class ID for this to be exit. So now that's the entire pit area set up. So that's pit entrance, pit exit, briefing entrance, briefing exit, and I would suggest you can set in the text box value here, so it's just a lot easier for you to know while in studio. So in this one it's oh, what was it? Yeah, pit entrance. Yeah, you can see it changed there. I also just realized that I named these the wrong way round. Yeah, so this is actually the pit exit. So it's easy to make mistakes like that. Oh, this seems... Ooh, I seem to have made a mistake here. So you want to copy the entire barrier, not the part. Yeah, so you want to copy this entire barrier and then move this entire barrier. Just fit that in. And that will do for now. Yeah, I think it's about like that. There we go. I'm just going to set these because that's exit. Let's exit. This one, let me set this up properly. This is the pit entrance. There we go. So that's the pits setup. Now what's left? Now we've only got one last bit, which is the group restrictions. So if I go into configuration, you'll see a folder called group, and in here you got group ID and rank ID. So in group ID, if this is set to 0, then anyone can use these buttons. But let's say I want a specific, I don't want everyone to use these buttons. So to get your group ID, you want to go to your whatever your group is, if you have one, and you see this number here in the URL. You want to get this number here, go to Studio and put it in the value, and then your rank ID will be somewhere in your configure group option. So if I go into configure group, you'll see roles, and you can see the specific role numbers here. It's 254110. So let's say I don't want to use the numbers. As I'm the highest rank in this group, I'm going to set it to 256. So technically no one can use 256. So I've set that to 256, and that's my group ID. So now if I run this, it will load in. Now if I click these buttons, you'll notice they don't actually do anything. That's because they all have a restriction on them. So that's how you stop trollers trying to go through the window and try and click in these buttons. This time I get into the control panel, they still won't be able to control them. Sorry, they still won't be able to use these buttons. And just to add another point, so I'm going to set this to 254. So my role is actually 255, so you can see here, and the rank. If I click play here, the idea is that it's going to be any rank ID that you specified and above that will be able to use these buttons. So now if I go here, although my role, my rank ID is not 254, because 255 is above 254, I can still use all of these ranks here. Now, as I'm here already, let's just actually try and use these buttons. So I'm going to set the light to yellow, and the start line I'm going to put on red. Now if I type in fly me, can this work? This might not work. No, it does not appear to work in Studio, my admin script. If you don't have admin, by the way, you can just type in Studio, or if you just go into Marketplace, you can see HD admin. You can just throw that in, and inside there should be a tutorial there if you wish to have a specific admin. I'm going to publish this game now. So if I go into here, I'm going to publish to Roblox as. So now I'm fully publishing this game. My game's under Yar890 Studios, and I'm going to put it into Yar890 Racing Kit demo. So if I click on here, I'm going to overwrite this, and now it's saved. So now if I go to here, I'm going to go to my group. I will also include a link to this game if you want to as well, of the completed one. If I click play, I'm going to allow Roblox to run. And this will take a moment. Hopefully admin should work. There we go. You can see all the right barriers there. So how do you fly me? Does it work? Yes, it does. So, oop. Need to run no. Click me. Click me. There we go. Here you can see all the lights here. And first I'm going to respawn all the carts, and I want to open up the pit exit. So the red light on the pit means that it's open. So here you can see it's open. So I jump in here and I can race. Remember that you can configure the speed and how it turns and its braking force in the configurations folder. So now, as you saw, there's an invisible barrier. I need to unlock that barrier. To do that, I click starting line. And now it's doing a countdown, and now the barrier should be open. I don't want to collide with carts. I want to be able to go through carts, and this is the first lap, so I'm going to slow down the track. Now if I'm also going to put the pit entrance, I'm going to open that up. There we go. So I'm going to go back into the pits and then show the no collision. So here you can see lights. I couldn't show this in the video, but the lights go 1 red, then 2 red, then 3 red, then 4 red, and 5 red, and then it goes green. And then when it goes green, then you can see here, I can go straight through the barrier there. So you can see here, my speed has been slowed down. Ooh. Yeah. If you're using my carts, you can also see I have a red light here. So when you brake, it will show a red light. So normally in a session, if you're running your own group game of some sort, you want to... Ooh, I seem to have moved the floor down. I'll fix that in a moment. You want to consider running the game first on a yellow light, because then it just gives people the option to view the track before they actually race at full speed. So as you see here, I've opened the pit. If I want to go through here, I'm going to show the no collision thing. Ooh, the pits are a bit tight here. Yeah, as you can see here, I can go straight through all of it, and if I jump out, I can still walk through all of them. If I sit down again, collision is off again. Yeah, that's pretty much the Go-Kart kit. So this is what I have so far. However, if you're potentially watching this far in the future, there may have been a lot of changes. So if you want to get the latest updates about the kit, as I am, I occasionally work on this, depends whenever I'm free. And if you want to get the latest updates about it, if you go in one of the links, you can click on this button here. I might also include a direct link to my Discord server. Ideally, if you go in here, you can also see this in the README I mentioned here. For the latest announcement, visit the Roblox group and scroll down to social links. So if you're 13 and over, if you scroll down, you'll notice Yar890 Studios Central Hub. If you click on this, it will open up Discord, and it will take you to here. Once you're in here, if you head over to, you'll get like a welcome message, something like this. Gives you a brief idea. And first thing, you can visit welcome if you wish to, don't really have to. I'd suggest reading the rules, and I'd suggest going into get role. So this is hashtag get role. And for racing mentions, so that's to do with the racing kit, you want to react to this symbol here, and it might not show for me, but for you, you will get a specific role. Oh yeah, it has added in, and you also get a DM. They also have different things like YouTube mentions, live stream mentions, train mentions. So I have my own automatic train game, so you can find out more about it in here, as you can see here. You've got your main text channels, voice channels, and here's like separate categories. So for the kart project specifically, it's in here. You got your announcements. This just gives you to explain some of the features and a link to the kit. Update log. So this is where I'll announce the new features. I also include images. Oh, I forgot to mention the car also has a flip button on the bottom of it. So sometimes updates may be technical or just behind the scenes so that I can improve it in the future. Some updates are more usable for like actual new features that you can use. You got the suggestion. So here you can vote which suggestion you like the most or not like. Here you've got request suggestions, so you can type in a suggestion, and if I like it, I'll add it to here, and then people can vote for it. And then you've got your kart chat, where you can just talk about any issues you have, and then someone from the community may be able to help, or just general chat about the kit. You can also see the link here for the kits here as well. If you're interested in trains, I also have this auto train category. So this is just a game. And I just talk about like an automatic train I have. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I've explained the kit in much detail, as I know, although I have an instruction things, some people may struggle with it, and hopefully this video will help you a lot. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you using this kit and joining my Discord server. Thank you.